Yes, thank you very much for joining us again on TVC Breakfast. Let's check out the top stories on Nigerian newspapers this morning, beginning with the Guardian newspaper. And the lead story there is captioned COP28 Summit. Of course, COP28 Summit, the United Nations Climate Change Summit, of course, involving all countries of the world, so to speak, begins today in Saudi Arabia. And the story there, the lead story there is captioned, again, Nigeria, others renegotiate rights to just transition. Next is First News, and the big story there is on the presentation of the 2024 budget by President Bola Tinubu. Of course, the president presented 27.5 trillion naira budget to the National Assembly just as the People's Democratic Party is kicking. Of course, we should have time to talk a bit about that during the course of the show. And Business Day is also harping on the presentation of the budget on Wednesday before a joint session of the National Assembly. Federal government, it says, federal government's 9 trillion naira budget deficit raises concerns despite fuel subsidy cut. Federal government's 9 trillion naira budget deficit raises concerns despite fuel subsidy cut. All right, and next is leadership, still on the 2024 budget. It says security, jobs, poverty reduction, top priorities. And it appears that the presentation of the budget, that is, will also, be on the front burner across many newspapers, as we see in Blueprint Next, where it also talks about the major sectors that will form top priorities for the Tinubu administration as it presents the 2024 budget. It says on the blueprint, that is security, job creation, poverty as well, poverty reduction, I should say, top priorities as the lawmakers over there at the National Assembly begin work in earnest to thrash out all the areas of the budget presented by the president on Wednesday. Theophilus.
Yes, we move to Daily Trust. It says, security gets lion's share as Tinubu presents 27.5 trillion naira budget. Security gets lion's share as Tinubu presents 27.5 trillion naira budget. The Punch newspaper says, defense, education, roads get 6.7 trillion naira. Federal government eyes 10.4 trillion naira tax. That's in the Punch newspaper this morning. Defense, education, roads get 6.7 trillion naira. Federal government eyes 10.4 trillion naira tax. That's in the Punch newspaper this morning. So we're moving to the Nation newspaper, and it says here, defense, education, health top Tinubu's 27.5 trillion naira budget. Defense, education, health tops Tinubu's 27.5 trillion naira budget. That's in the Nation newspaper, the bold header there. The Daily Independent says federal government to cut 2024 budget deficit to 3.88% of the GDP. The Daily Independent, it says here, federal government to cut 2024 budget deficit to 3.88% of the GDP. That's in the Daily Independent this morning. So finally from me, we'll move to Nigerian News Direct. And it says here, Nigerian News Direct says customers of liquidated banks unwilling to pay 400 billion naira debt. Customers of liquidated banks unwilling to pay 400 billion naira debt. That's in the Nigerian News Direct this morning, amongst other stories there.
Theophilus, as we see now, the papers largely, understandably, expectedly, I should say as well, that they're all talking about the presentation of the budget. It was a big feat, so to speak, for the APC-led administration of President Bola Tinubu being his first. And it was, of course, a ceremony, that had massive attendance, not only by lawmakers, of both chambers, but of course aides of the president as well as the ruling APC. Of course, the FCT minister, who is of the PDP, Nyesom Wike, as well as other dignitaries were also there. But most importantly is what this document signifies. It's a budget document. It's been captioned budget of renewed hope, yes, in line with the president's campaign mantra, campaign of renewed hope. And the issue now, and we did see the president, harp on it in his presentation speech. We also saw the leadership of the National Assembly also speaking to that effect on the need to give life to the document, for all hands to be on deck. Now they've said that, okay, the president is desirous of the budget taking effect from January the 1st. He wants them to expedite all action on the budget, it as quick as possible. And they say it's a tough one, but it is doable for them to, start working on it immediately. You've also spoken about critical sectors, as we see in the papers, that
defense, education, roads, security,
job creation,
yes,
poverty alleviation, and all of this also formed, crucial chunks of the campaign document of Bola Tinubu, at the time when he was running for office. And then there's so much. Of course, the breakdown is also before us, and it remains to be seen how the lawmakers will view these promises, or look at the breakdown of the budget, how they will break it down. The government has done its own, but of course it's time now for the lawmakers to take the needed steps in their bid to approve the budget.
Yes, of course they will take. I believe they will take the needed steps and expedite measures. Of course, you also realize that my own concern here is the implementation of this monies. How are they going, and where are they going to in those sectors? And will it trickle down to the people at the grassroots so that they can experience the dividends of democracy? Of course, right now we see that from what we have seen, the administration is doing quite well, if I may say. But the ministers have to do their own parts, especially when they are delivering the dividends of democracy. We need roads. We need security to be top-notch. We need so many architecture, health, education. Our educational system needs to be top-notch, such that many parents will want to remove their kids from private schools into public schools. We see that in other countries like Ghana, South Africa, and the likes, who give priority to the education of the children, and private government schools are taking as top priority and giving the needed infrastructure to thrive. We have seen in Lagos where this has happened. The Lagos state government has, of course, done a lot in the educational sector, and ensuring that Nigerian children who cannot go to school, private schools, can have a future in government-owned schools. And we have seen a lot of that. You see, if you go for some STEM competition, you see Lagos state government school children coming out top 10, top 5, and it's quite remarkable. So if we have that in the educational system all over the country, what do you think will happen to education? It means that the children, the younger ones, will have a better lease at life. And when they go to the university, it becomes better. So we need to ensure that implementation becomes key. This money is going to different sectors. We need to see that it's actually working, because these are taxpayers' money.
Absolutely. And of course, the budget is projected at 27.5 trillion naira. And, there's some interesting breakdowns on this budget. Is about 1 trillion naira higher than the current budget, out of which 6.75 trillion is expected to be spent on defense and security. Of course, we all know how defense and security always bears how, of course, it always takes up, a sizable amount of the budget. When you talk about all the, security hardware that, need to be boosted, we all know how real the war on insecurity, terrorism, and the likes is in Nigeria. So a lot is also before the president in this regard. Of course, it will also cover education and infrastructure. Education too is very critical.
Yes, very critical.
Infrastructure too is critical. The government says it's will also going to work on finishing ongoing infrastructure projects, which is also very critical. The issue of education, we can talk on and on about it, tertiary education, especially. Only yesterday we were speaking about the fact that many lecturers have relocated seeking greener pastures. We just read a story now about a foremost federal government-run health institution, Luth, here in Lagos, how they say crucial wards, and it's not because there are no patients. At least 100 wards have been shut down. Absolutely not because there are no patients, but because many of the professionals, many of the skilled individuals have also left the country now, and this is indeed worrisome because it speaks to the situation on ground, the level of our systems, how well our systems are running, how well we are putting the issue of infrastructure, the issue of welfare, all the things that will make one to, stay back and give their own. And, we're even forced to celebrate the lecturers, and I dare say now the health professionals and every other, Nigerian who is doing their best, to remain in the country, not because they don't have the choice to, but they just choose to, I must remain to serve the country. So this is a very crucial time indeed for the present administration, and the lawmakers have said now, because the government has done his own, it's now left for the ministers, heads of departments and agencies to come in now and defend this budget. Tell us how you want to do all the work. And there is, of course, a marching order on the NDAs and all that. If you don't serve, and now is the test going to be the beam light, or rather the searchlight is going to be beamed on them. If you don't serve, you will find your way out, and then allow more responsible persons to serve.
True. And of course, I will have to say, let me just give kudos to the Minister for Works. On several occasions, I've had the opportunity of following him on within Lagos.
Coming to Lagos.
Within Lagos, yes, visitations, inspecting projects. And I dare say he's one of the ministers that hit the ground running. From the first day of his inauguration till now, he's been doing a great work, and we need to see more of that. We've not seen this kind of situations in a very long time, so we need to see more of that, where ministers have this marching order, and because the president gave them a marching order that they have to deliver or leave, and so that is the needed impetus. Many of the ministers are actually delivering on their mandate, and so this, I believe, will show. Between now and 4 years, it will show that work has been done, dividends have been given. We need to see all of this. The CBN is doing all its best to ensure that the economy is stabilized. The federal government is trying to put everything in place to ensure that businesses are stabilized and all of that. And of course, we need to see that as the economy grows with this budget as well, we need to see that small businesses also thrive.